Welcome back, everybody, to Offsides, the unofficial official podcast of Charlotte Football Club. I'm your host, Andres Robledo, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Pablo Robledo. Pablo, how's the weekend?
Pretty good, pretty good. Got a easy, lazy weekend. Watched a good bit of soccer and just more cold weather.
Yeah, it's that time of year in North Carolina where you get spring, winter. But anyways, big episode ahead. We got some transfer news to cover for Charlotte, and then obviously the big match against Atlanta United, and then a brief preview of our match at home this weekend against New England. So let's just jump right into the news. Charlotte over the weekend, or actually over the week, signed 2 new players. First being midfielder Derek Jones from the Houston Dynamo. A pretty interesting deal there. Definitely suggest everyone kind of go look up how that was structured. But he didn't get to play over the weekend. Looked at his highlight footage. I think he might be the missing piece in our midfield that we need right now. Very explosive player, great tackles, and seems to distribute the ball really well. Also young, only 25 years old, and has a lot of MLS experience. I think over 60 or 70 games in the league already. What were your thoughts on Derek Jones?
I didn't do too much research on the Derek Jones. I did see he's a midfielder. I think a defensive midfielder.
Yep.
Which, like you said, is kind of something we are lacking in right now, especially in the formation we're playing. There seems to be like just a gaping hole in that midfield where the defense has the ball and we need to get it up, and there's like nobody there to distribute the ball. So as far as a team role prediction, I could see him filling that gap for sure.
Yeah, I think he'll be great in that spot. And then the second big signing was definitely the big signing of the week, and kind of made the news all around the weekend. Our second designated player, I believe our second designated player, another Polish player, our winger, Kamil Jozwak. Hopefully, I'm not butchering that.
You are butchering it. It's Kamil Yazviak.
Yazviak. All right.
Say that 3 times.
Polish winger from Derby County, played under the great legend Wayne Rooney. On paper, I wouldn't say he has any crazy stats, but to me, he passes the eye test. He's also very young. I think 22. Has a lot of pace, explosive shot with both feet. I think he could be that creative attacking player that we're kind of missing right now. Someone who isn't afraid to cut inside and take a chance, or even just blow by people, which I think the team really needs right now. What are your thoughts on the signing?
I like Kamil. I think he's going to be a good weapon that we can use hopefully soon. I'm not sure if he's going to make his debut here in this next coming up home.
No, he's not expected to play until Aprilish due to an ankle injury that he's picked up while playing for Derby. So it'll be a little while before we get to see him, but definitely an anticipated debut.
Well, hopefully when he gets better, we can make a good use out of him. Like you said, he's young, and coming from Derby County, that's European ball over there, so they play a lot faster pace, a little more aggressive. In those long balls, you're gonna see a lot of long balls coming out of him. So yeah, defensive plans are gonna have to be built around him. Where if he's not crossing, he's gonna be coming in for a middle shot. That I love to see those middle outside shots.
Yeah, he's great dribbler of the ball, fast, great shooter with both feet. Everything you could ask for in a winger, really.
And he's our second or third designated player? I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I think he's our second, but I could be wrong.
Right.
So we'll have to fact check that later.
Yeah. Second Polish player on our team.
Third Polish. So there's also the center back. I forget his name. Jan Sowalski, I think, who I don't believe has made his debut yet, but also a young Polish player, center back. Which right now it's going to be tough to get any playing time in that back line because I think that's where we're looking our strongest. But we can jump into that here in a little bit. So any final thoughts on the two signings?
Um, no, no, not too many. You know, you can definitely tell where the recruiter's been hanging out at as far as recruiting all these Polish players. I did have a question for you now that we got these two signings in. I don't think our roster is quite full. Is uh, as far as for draft and pools, where do you think our recruiting should focus on? You know, obviously they've been getting a lot of from these European leagues and American soil as well. But um, where do you think where else should they look?
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't really put too much time to thinking about that. I'm always probably going to be a bit biased and say in Europe, just because you've got most of your top leagues there. Not just English Premier League, but you got Serie A, La Liga, and the Bundesliga as well, and even their kind of their version of their minor leagues. Like we're seeing us pick up Joswiak from the Championship, which is the second division. Right below the Premier League. There's a lot of talent there as well.
Hmm.
And you even see, the top of like the Spanish and the Mexican League, or the South American League and the Mexican League. Those top players do end up also going to Europe to play. So it's hard to say. I definitely think there is talent to be found in these other leagues, but I think it's almost more of a guarantee of finding top tier talent looking in Europe. Obviously, there's always going to be exceptions to that, but that's just kind of my thoughts. And again, a little bit of my bias is just because I have always paid more attention to European ball than like the South American and Mexican leagues.
See, that's interesting you say that because obviously that you get all these great players out of the European League. You know, you got your Neymar, you got your Ronaldinho's, Rivaldo's, who else? You know, James Rodriguez. Uh, but I think we should focus more on some of these South American leagues because that's where all those players that I just named came out of first. You know, Neymar played for a small club, well, not a small club, but a small club in comparison to Europe.
Yeah,
He played down there, starting. So did Ronaldinho. Even Andres Escobar was supposed to go to Inter Milan. You know, RIP Andres Escobar. But that if we get him young and come to MLS, because they're signing for obviously the names, but money. We get him
yeah.
young, you could get some stars out of those leagues, and I think we should focus a lot of our recruiting, or at least partial, down there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And also too, I think the style that's played in MLS is probably more similar and at a similar pace
Mm-hmm.
to those leagues than Europe. So there's also that whole like, there's not going to be as big of an adjustment period for these players either. They're probably going to be able to just kind of, play right away and
Yeah.
be used to the style. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting thought. I think you're right. We probably should be looking elsewhere. We'll just have to see what the front office does and what the manager wants to do and what kind of players he wants to bring in. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting, something to keep our eye on for sure.
Yeah, I hope they do go down there because it'd make the game and MLS a lot more interesting. Like you said, they just bring that flair of magic that it's not seen a lot over here yet.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. All right, well, let's really jump into the meat of this thing. The match over the weekend. Charlotte FC traveled down to Atlanta, Georgia to take on Atlanta United. It was a heartbreaking loss, 2-1, to a late winner in the 96th minute in stoppage time. Um, you know, my initial thoughts in the game was the team looked a lot better than last weekend,
Hmm.
especially on the offensive side of the ball. Thought we created a lot more chances. Uh, I think something that I think we kind of glossed over last week was how new this team is. It's basically only been playing together for 2 months, and the team is still being built. They're basically flying the plane while you're still building it.
Yeah.
But the improvements week over week have been huge. I think I'm really excited to see what this team can do in the later stages of the season. What were your thoughts on the match?
It was a roller coaster of emotions. This match, when just overall, if it hadn't been just for a few, mistakes, man, I think we could have came out with like a win or that 1-1 that I was predicting last week. But like you said, that 96-minute second goal by Atlanta just um, it it really just demoralized everything, and you could see it. But even towards the end, some they were still fighting, and
Yeah.
but it was a good game overall. A very good game. I paid attention to every minute.
Yeah, absolutely. I was glued to my seat. Actually, I was standing the whole time. Jen and I, we went out to Salud here in Noda, here in Charlotte. They hosted a watch party for one of the local supporter groups. Wanted to go check out that atmosphere, and it was awesome. Like, clearly, the energy from the home opener is still around here in the city. People were going crazy. If you want to see some highlights of that, go to our Instagram, offsides_CLTFC, and kind of check it out. And if you want to get involved in one of those, follow our Twitter at the same name. I'm constantly retweeting where all these watch parties are. So if you want to be an involved fan and find out where to go, give us a follow. I'm trying to shout out as many of these places as possible, just so everyone can get involved and meet some fans and go crazy, because it was an awesome experience. The energy by these fans is still there, and it's going to carry over into this next home game.
Yeah, I saw you where you put those videos out where you're at that bar with those people. Did you have to request the game to be put on, or were they already
No,
putting
it
it
was
on?
everyone was there in a jersey and a scarf. They had it on a big projector screen, as you kind
Oh,
of
nice.
saw, and a small TV at the bar. And it's kind of funny because there were some buffering issues at first.
Mm-hmm.
So the projector, is a big giant projector in front of like pretty much the whole bar, except for a few people that were actually at the bar. Where the small TV was, that TV was actually ahead by like 30 seconds.
Oh,
So some of the, some of the more dramatic parts of the game got a little spoiled for us. But it was still great, and they fixed it by the second half, so everyone was having a good time. But I mean, I was screaming in there as loud as I was at the stadium. It was a lot of fun, and I think it's something I'm definitely going to do for each away game, is just go out with some of these supporter groups and just go crazy. It was so much fun.
yeah, I might have to join you for one of those. Who knows? It looked fun. It definitely looked fun.
Yeah, and if you have FOMO from missing out at that home opener and you can't get tickets, these watch parties are going on for all the home games as well. Go get involved, go get crazy, go get some food and drinks. But anyways, let's jump into the match. Let's jump into the first half. Some quick team changes we saw from the lineup compared from last week. Ben Bender got the start, as well as Mackenzie Gaines.
Hmm.
Reyna was out with an injury he picked up in the game against
I
LA.
know. I saw that. I was looking forward to seeing more Reyna, and then he's like,
Out.
his hair wasn't good or something. I don't know.
And then left back Mora was also out. I don't think it's due to an injury. I think more to performance the last 2 weeks. He's
Yeah.
been kind of getting a lot of criticism, I think fairly so. And Mackenzie Gaines saw the start at the right wing with Fuchs moving out to left back. And the
Mhm.
formation change. We played a 4-3-3. My preferred formation. I think it's, a great formation for really creative attacking football. Don't know if we really got to see much of that in the first half, but I think big takeaway from me from the team changes is that Ben Bender definitely earned the start, and I think definitely earned a starting position. At least definitely more minutes, if not the starting position.
No, I think you're right. I think he has earned a starting position for this next home game. Um, and I saw even just the commentators went out because I just watched the game on Fox. Um, and even the commentators were just praising him. You know how much he was all over the field, getting great crosses in. He even had a shot or two. I can't recall exactly, but um, if do you know who got MVP for that game? Was it Martinez?
Uh,
I don't even know. I
I'm
don't
not
think it was
sure.
even one of our players, but if it had been one of our players, it was either Bender or Kalina. Because those guys,
Yeah, they were
really,
definitely the backbone of the
yeah, they
team.
definitely performed,
I
110% out there.
I do know actually Ben Bender did receive the highest rating out of our players.
Oh, okay.
Like I think very much deserved.
Yeah, I mean he took, I think all the left sided corners.
all the free kicks,
all the free kicks.
definitely in the second half as well.
Which, we didn't have many, but still for him,
Yeah.
as such a young player,
You
to
know,
get
21 years old, fresh out of college,
Yeah,
his third
that's a
MLS
lot of
game.
responsibility.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
is good. He stepped up.
Yeah, he's
that's
gonna
one that you
be.
called out last week that keep an eye out for him, and he really stepped up, and so that's one for you. Good job. You got one right.
That's right. And Reyna didn't start, which was also on my wish list. So, all right. Well, give me your thoughts on the first half. What were some takeaways you had? Well, I think we should probably start with I think the MVP of the first half, Kalina. What were your thoughts on him?
Yeah, Kalina really saved our butts out there on that first half. I mean, as far as attacking for our team, the first half was almost non-existent. We were outshot by and just as far as who had possession of the ball, obviously it was Atlanta. Our defense, not to say that they weren't great, but they were still not enough pressure in my eyes. Like you mentioned before, Kalina just really stepped up and saved the game. If it hadn't been for him, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I think he had some really big saves early on, as early as like the 4 minute mark. But a big one I really wanted to highlight was actually from a mistake by Fuchs, our captain, where he goes to pass the ball back to Mukan. And it's hard to, for me, it's hard to tell if Mukan's out of position, miscommunication between the two of them. But Fuchs basically just gives the ball to Martinez on a silver platter right outside the box. He drives, amazing, powerful shot, and Kalina with the quick reaction saves it. I think just for that save alone, he's the MVP of the first half for me.
Yeah, I think Martinez out of Atlanta has been, from what I understand, he's been kind of out of form, trying to get into a good groove, and thank goodness for that because, like you said, just a very sloppy pass by Fuchs. McCon was nowhere near where that ball was going, and Martinez just hops on the opportunity. Alina cleaned that up right away. I also saw where there was a lot of outside crosses going in where he stepped up and just nabbed him out of the air. So good on him for taking command of that back line and communicating with them, letting them know when he's coming in to get it, or who to step up on, things like that. That we didn't see against the Galaxy or DC United. You can tell that some of that stuff's kind of starting to come together.
Yeah, I thought the team looked a lot better this week over last week. Even just in the first half, they looked better. Yeah, so nothing really negative to say about Kalina. All positives. They definitely need to build a statue of him outside Bank of America Stadium right away. That guy is gonna, be the reason we get far into playoffs or into standings. If we do, it's gonna be because that guy's just saving our butts until the defense, cleans this up and offense starts creating some more chances. But
yeah, I hope the backup goalkeepers are taking a lot of notes from him.
Yeah. I hope they're getting comfortable. I don't see them taking his spot anytime soon. No. So let's jump into the back line. Our defense, that's kind of been the high point of the team for a while. I don't think this game was their best performance. I think there was some great moments. I also thought there's a bit of sloppiness, and they're still doing some things I kind of wish they would improve on, such as pressuring early. Not taking some space when we lose the ball.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the defense?
Yeah, I was very frustrated with that back line. Thought our defense was given too much space to the attackers, not pressuring enough or quickly enough when they should have been. I saw a lot of crosses coming in where they're just kind of like backstepping when they should be kind of forward stepping to make them react or make some sort of decision. You give these attackers or these wingers 2 or 3 seconds and they can find a cross. Because when you're playing defense and you're trying to guard a winger, you can't see what's going on behind you. You can't see who's making those runs, and the winger can. So you give him that extra time, and that's all he needs to get that cross in.
Yeah, I think, to add on to that, I think what's really a hard issue for them too right now is there's no real presence by our center mid on the defensive side of the ball either. So it's kind of like when they do shut down one of the wings, Atlanta was just able to kind of move it around the center of the field, back out to the other wing, and just stretch us out again over and over again.
Yeah, many of the corners that Atlanta got was from initial crosses that our defense had to just head out of bounds or deflects from shots that came because they let those crosses, go over to our goal. And it was just this game watching that defense in comparison to last game watching our defense. Last game against Galaxy, I was like super proud. I was like, okay, yeah, we got a good defense, which is great. But this game, I was like, man, they're letting a lot of shots come through, and I was just very frustrated with that.
Yeah. So, to kind of stay on the back line, one highlight I did want to, press or give praise to is Philip Lindsay, the young right back, uh, North Carolina native, Charlotte native. I think he had a great game, shutting down his side of the field on the defensive side and, really pushing the pace on the attacking side too. He was really getting up there and tracking back. That dude's a workhorse. I think he's going to be a talent to keep your eyes on for the future. I would not be surprised if in a couple of years he's over in Europe playing for some of these top teams. He looks really special. I thought a great performance by him on both sides of the ball. I think Corujo, the center back next to Lindsay, I think he looks really good. Really, strong, powerful, kind of no nonsense center back. Kind of like a more traditional center back, like you're not going to want to go up against him on a header. Like you don't want to dribble at him because he's just going to take you out. Kind of reminds me of
He's
like
that tall center back that, like, if you're going up for a 50-50 header, you're going to the ground every time.
yeah, and he's tatted, got a big beard, just scary
Yeah.
looking guy.
Yeah.
You're not going to take him on a one-on-one because he might just elbow you in the face.
Yeah.
Like
But even by
just looks really good.
Corujo, him and number 14, Macon, it was one of the ones I more heavily criticized this game as far as giving up space, not enough pressure. Corujo in the second half did step it up more, but in that first half, those two specifically to me were just like they need to get subbed out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. First half performance probably wasn't there. Even by Fuchs, I kind of thought his performance
Yeah,
in the first half
Fuchs.
was really lackluster. Just felt like he was caught out of position a couple times,
Mm-hmm.
not pushing up and giving Bender support as much as I would have liked.
Yeah, those two didn't have a great dynamic in that first half like they have before, so I'm not sure what was going on there.
Yeah, clearly some miscommunications on
Mm-hmm.
sometimes on who was going to get the ball or what to
Yeah.
do with it, and led to some mistakes. Quick question for you. I mean, Fuchs' performance it's not the best we've seen all season, but he's played 3 matches now, all 90 minutes. All 3 games have gone over 90 minutes. I think the LA game was 5 minutes of stoppage time in the second half. This game was 7. Uh, is his age starting to show a little bit? Does he have the legs still to play 90 minutes game in, game out? Or do you think we're going to see more of a rotation at that spot or even a rotation of where maybe he goes to center back so he can stay on for 90 minutes and we get, a younger, more energetic guy out at the left back spot? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think no, for as being as old as he is, which he's not that old, but in the MLS, he's fine. He can play those 90-minute games and 90-minute plus. I agree with you. He needs to be put in that center back role more because at the winger spot or that left back spot where he's playing at, he's getting beat there a lot. I saw too many crosses given up by him, and even just simple step over moves that kind of got him where step over and you start making a dash. Now you're just playing catch up against these younger guys that are quick. It's hard to get them without fouling.
Yeah.
So no, yeah, that's a good strategy. Is put him in center back and get a younger guy at left back.
All right. Well, I think that kind of covers everything about the defense in that first half. Let's jump into the midfield. I don't really have a lot of positives to say. My general notes on the midfield was we were kind of non existent on both sides of the ball. I think getting out of our own half, we didn't distribute it very well. And I think that's, really clear in the stat of like, I think in the first half, possession was 70-30 in Atlanta's favor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a big part of that was just the midfield could not move the ball around in our own half and get it into Atlanta's defensive third. I'm hoping that, Derek Jones is the player we need for this. Get us that kind of connective tissue between our defenders and our attackers and start moving the ball more up the pitch. But all 3 midfielders I kind of felt were pretty much invisible all game. I'm especially frustrated with Ortiz because, at least Brandt and Franco would get back on defense a lot. I saw them tracking back a good bit,
Yeah.
but I felt like Ortiz, I don't think he's a center mid. I think he wants to play on the wing, kind of like where Bender and Gaines were, because he just naturally kind of tends to float out there and
Hmm.
not track back, and he's just kind of waiting for the ball.
I think that's more his natural position, anyways, and
Yeah, and
coach might be just forcing something that's not gonna go.
I agree. We'll probably see more production out of him on the wing where he can take players on more.
Hmm.
Um, but I just think the work rate isn't there.
Yeah, I see Ortiz more of as like an attacking midfield,
Hmm.
not just a straight center line midfield, but like just on the top of the circle,
Yeah,
where he's like waiting for the pass from the defensive midfield or left back or something like that to build the attack. I don't see him running back too much to play defense. Maybe
yeah,
like to jump on a loose ball or a bad pass, but not chasing somebody down.
yeah.
Maybe cut off a pass.
I just think that's an issue right now, especially in that first half performance where Atlanta's just moving the ball around us so much. Like sometimes you need those players, and you see the great players do it where they drop deep and win that ball and make something happen from deeper in our own half. And I'm sure they would like to, but that's what you got to do sometimes. At least to break up the possession, get the ball, give our defenders a break. And he just was not really doing it for me. I just never really saw him, like you said, kind of chasing the ball down or tracking back with a player. Even like when a center back from Atlanta would, dribble through and into our own half, I never saw him like tracking with that guy. He just kind of stayed floating up near the
Yeah,
end
I think
line.
he's
And
waiting more to build an attack than anything else. I mean,
that's tough when you've also got Swiderski there, kind
yeah,
of doing the same thing, in which he should be because he's our
that's his role.
highest up guy. So when he's also standing at the midline, basically waiting for the attack to develop, you need Ortiz to kind of drop in deep and start it from deeper in our own half and let win the ball, play to Swiderski, and let people let him hold it up at halfway and
Yeah,
let our attackers run by, and then Swiderski can play them into space.
that's a good
Um,
point.
and I just don't think that was ever happening. And I'm curious if it's a fitness issue or just his natural tendencies is to kind of play more on the wing and high up or what. But after watching him for 2 games, I'm not impressed. I'm not seeing anything that is showing me that he has to be out on that field. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I still think Ortiz is trying to figure out his role in this lineup as far as the formation is because that formation seems like game after game has been changed from quite a bit. We saw at Galaxy where we had like five back, and then now this game we had like four back. So they're still trying to figure out that formation, and Ortiz is trying to find his role in it and see where he fits at. I don't know about running back, um, but even when we were on the attack and we were building for a cross, I saw him make a couple runs where he's wide open at the top of the box, and you could see where he's like shouting and waving his arms that he's open, and they're just not utilizing him. I
Yeah.
think if Ortiz gets those open balls, he can really put in a solid strike or
Yeah, and we
develop
did
an
see it.
attack
We did
there.
see it early in the half. He did have a long range shot from outside the box.
Yeah, he had that
Um,
one long
and
range shot, which I liked.
it tested Guzan, Atlanta's goalkeeper. He had to
Hmm.
dive and save it. Um, so I think the finishing quality is definitely there. But if we're struggling to build up that attack from around half, I think he just needs to drop in and do a little bit more, or we just need to figure something else out between.
But it seems like we're building up the attack from the outside.
Yeah, and that's definitely what the manager wants to do is attack the flank and then kind of work from there.
Hmm.
So work in progress. I think they'll figure it out. The team's definitely looking better.
A lot of times when we got the ball, it seems like defense got the ball and you're either passing to the left back and then going up the wing, or vice versa, you're going to the right back and going up the wing. I didn't see it too many times where we're cutting up and then going into the center mids or things like that. So maybe it's just getting his groove in there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something. My last thought on the midfield, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is we are missing someone who can work both sides of the field and is constantly just asking for the ball. That way they can turn and distribute it, from the left back, from the left winger, to switch it to the right winger, right back. It seems like we're never working the ball through the middle, except, when we're crossing it on that final cross.
Yeah.
We're never working it on the ground through the middle. And I think, it goes to show how important that is, because I think it's something Atlanta was very good at and it's something LA was very good at. They outpossessed us, outshot us in that first half both games. So I would like to see Ortiz at least step up there as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, to last thing on the middle is, we did see Bender start stepping in and filling that role where he's running back, making attacks, things like that. So he's looking more like a better fit for that role than maybe Ortiz. And Ortiz, just like you mentioned earlier, needs to be put on a winger.
Yeah, it's almost like maybe they should swap sides.
Yeah.
Let's jump into Bender's performance and the forwards' performance. We had 3 up front, 2 wingers and a center forward. Swiderski was our center forward, Ben Bender on the left wing, and Mackenzie Gaines on the right wing. My first thoughts was that with those 2 changes, with those 2 guys playing wing, we looked way more dynamic, way more pacey, and our crosses looked a lot more threatening. And I thought we gave Swiderski a lot of great chances. I really wish he would have put 1 or 2 of those away, but he was at least testing Brad Guzan, Atlanta's goalkeeper, a lot more than we tested LA's goalkeeper. What do you think of the changes? And I think the big highlight is going to be Bender's performance. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was a bit eerie when I saw that lineup, and then I saw Bender starting on that side, and I was just a bit worried. And especially during that first half when our attack was almost non-existent. Not to say that they didn't do anything, but in comparison to how Atlanta was creating chances and shooting, it was a 70-30 possession by the end of the first half, and it was like we had 2 headers from Swiderski, both right at the goalie. Not to say that that's bad, but it's certainly, you need better placement there. We had that one outside shot from Ortiz, which I liked, and I want to say Gaines had a shot as well, but our attack didn't really start coming together until maybe the end or the latter minutes of the first half. You saw Bender started filling in that role more, where I think he kind of distanced himself from Fuchs a little bit better, which worked in our favor.
I think so too, and I think especially on the opposite side, because I felt like last week we were really only productive on one side of the field, where on the opposite side we were pretty like unproductive. I felt this week, with the inclusion of Mackenzie Gaines and Ben Bender, I thought Gaines had a great performance. He was, not afraid to take defenders one-on-one and go for the cross, and also, take the defender one-on-one, draw pressure to him, and then drop it back to Philip Lindsay. That led to a great long range attempt by Lindsay that, just barely soared over the top bar. And then Bender too, first, I would agree with you, first 15, 20 minutes, he definitely looked a little nervous. And the manager, Ramirez, even in his, post-match interview, talked about that, he was nervous. It was big moment for him. First MLS start. He's 21 years old,
Right.
fresh out of college. That's a lot of pressure, but I think, as time went by, he settled, and you could see he was really feeling himself. He was taking players
really
on.
natural out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he was taking on defenders. He was moving that ball through the middle and getting those crosses in.
What I think is really great about him too is I don't think he has any like physical attributes that really make him shine. I don't think he's the quickest guy out there. He's not the strongest guy out there, but he is just so intelligent, and he's constantly scanning the field. And if you watch him play, next game, just watch him for 5-10 minutes. You'll see his head is on a swivel. He's just constantly scanning the field and adjusting.
Yeah.
And he just puts himself in these positions that are advantageous to him, where he doesn't need to be the fastest guy or the most technical guy. He's just putting himself in the best position and is beating you that way.
Yeah, he's just watching to see where the defense is given that open space where he can creep into. And like you said, he's just constantly scanning the field, which I don't see how he does that and that hairband doesn't come out, because I mean, like, that's all you see is that hair flopping everywhere.
Yeah.
But then he just make those quick dashes, or he'll do that one little step over and get past the defenses and cross that ball in.
Yeah.
So he's very naturally gifted at finding possession and making the best out of whatever situation he's put in.
Yeah, I think he's definitely earned his starting spot.
Yeah.
Expect to see
start
him
next game.
Yeah, I absolutely expect to see him make his home debut as a starter against New England. What about Swiderski? What did you think of his performance?
I thought Swiderski did fine. You know, he had those couple of headers. I understand not all headers are going to be right where you want them to be, but him being so close to the goal, both those headers were right at the goalie. So I don't know if it was just late reaction on him or just bad placement. I'm glad he made contact and was able to at least get a header on goal. So that's good. He's getting open. So, you know, like last game, you were kind of worried about why we're crossing it so much, but now you're starting to see it to that plan coming to fruition, if you will. You know,
Yeah,
but I still think we
absolutely.
need somebody like Ortiz or somebody at the top of that box to either get the rebound and shoot in or just have a open option. Because obviously, like you see those guys going in for a cross, and there's only, from what I saw, just Swiderski there.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's still an issue of just him. He's the only one running into the box. But
Hmm.
I thought the timing of his runs and the crosses looked a lot better this week.
Much better.
I mean, you can clearly see that because he is getting at the end of these balls a lot more frequently. And I think also the other offensive pieces of the team picked it up a little bit with some of these long range shots from outside the box to just kind of switch up how we were attacking. But yeah, I mean, I thought he got some great deliveries in. And really wish he would have just put one into the back of the net. You know, I think that's coming though. I think,
It's inevitable. Yeah,
yeah,
it's gonna happen. It just needs to be somebody else there because I mean you got Swiderski there in the box and nobody else, so you're gonna have two defensive guys on him plus the goalkeeper. So it's
yeah,
a tough matchup there. But
yeah.
yeah, like you said, it's gonna happen. Maybe next game.
Yeah, absolutely. He could definitely open up his account with a couple goals at home. I think that wraps up the first half for me. You know, any final thoughts on the first half from you?
You know, there another thing I noticed on this well both halves, but is I saw a lot of yellows. A
Yeah,
lot of
let's actually
yellows
get
on
into
some
that.
calls that I didn't think deserved a yellow. So I don't know if the referee was just like card happy or trying to like make his presence known. But yeah, a lot of yellows and a lot of the fouls that I saw were from our defense. It's kind of getting beat by just simple, you know, step overs where the defense is rushing at an attacking player and they're running right past the attacking player. You know, they make a stab is what we call them. You know, they say don't stab at it, but that's exactly what they're doing. And all the attacking player has to do is just do a simple little move, juke them out, and then dribble right past them. I saw a lot of that, and then that's where the fouls come. You know, you get beat, you get frustrated. So what do? You foul. Right?
Yeah, I
Like
totally agree. You know, checking my notes, Ortiz picks up the yellow at the 29th minute, and then Franco also picks up a yellow at 35 minutes. Both, you
mm-hmm.
know, just challenging late, getting the guy a foul. But you know, I would have to say I think those are probably the softest yellows I've ever seen in my life, especially Ortiz's. And it's in, you know, in Atlanta's own half.
Yeah,
Not a whole lot of contact. I
it's
think it's
not
a
like the play was
50-50
building
call.
up to
Yeah.
anything great either.
And I think it's a 50-50 call if it's even a foul.
Yeah,
But for it to be a yellow, I think is completely ridiculous. I think, yeah, like you said, I think this ref was really yellow happy towards Charlotte.
yeah,
I'm never going to be the guy that blames a game on a ref, but I think there was a lot of really soft calls
yeah.
on our guys. I thought the calling was really inconsistent too. I thought there were some tackles where there was a lot of contact on a Charlotte player that wouldn't get called, or even if it did get called, no yellow was pulled out. But I think Ortiz and Franco's yellows were both really soft, and for them to get yellows for something that's like just maybe a foul is really ridiculous. And it's something we saw all game. You know, he does give Atlanta 2 yellows towards the end of the game, but at that point we picked up 4. So I think that's more of him kind of covering himself than anything, because I didn't see one that was a truly yellow card.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head there when you said that the yellows were kind of one sided or the calls were one sided because you know I even noticed when I was watching the game one of the commentators when Ortiz got his first yellow said well this is probably like they agreed that you know this is not a regular foul that deserves a yellow but they noted they said well this could be the ref giving him a yellow for the accumulation of previous fouls because he did have a certain amount of fouls that didn't get called or they did get called but didn't get a card. So did Atlanta, you know.
Yeah, and I
And it's
think
like if you're gonna call it like that, you gotta call it like that for the other team too.
yeah, not only that too, but if you're giving out a yellow for an accumulation of fouls you didn't call before, but you noted in your head like That's a foul I should have called. That's a foul I should have called. That's all right. That's 3 fouls I should have called.
Mm-hmm.
This is your 4th yellow. You need to just call the game tighter without the cards. Start calling the fouls.
Yeah, establish that early on.
Yeah, like I'm gonna call a tight game, guys. So if I catch you fouling a lot and I'm calling it a lot, I'm gonna give you a yellow after the third
Yeah.
or fourth one. I mean, obviously you don't have that conversation with the players. That's kind of when you're officiating. That's kind of how you do it. Like if you know want a very non-physical game, you call those early fouls, and if it keeps happening, then you give out the yellows. But you don't not call any fouls and then give a yellow as to say I'm calling a tight game. Like no, you haven't. You haven't called a tight game. You've been letting these guys play. And now all of a sudden you're saying no rough play.
Yeah.
And again, I thought it was really inconsistent towards the Charlotte side. I thought I saw a couple, what should have been yellows on the Atlanta side not given, throughout the whole game, not just the first half.
Yeah. Yeah. I also feel like we might have beat up on our defense a little bit much there, but I did see that the offsides calls came up a lot.
Yeah,
which
they
is
were playing
great.
that offside
That
trap really well.
that offside strategy there really helped a lot because there was a header that went in, which was called back for offsides, and there was a couple of Martinez shots. He's a forward for Atlanta. That good thing for also Kalina. He stopped those, but had he not, that would have been a shot that went in. But again, called back for offsides. That offsides is really good for just stopping that attack and play completely and really checking those attackers and their runs. So good on them.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Mukan didn't have the best game ever, but he's a young center back, so I think our back line has a really bright future. Fuchs is obviously our oldest defender.
I think
Corujo's.
Mukan and Fuchs need a swap.
I wouldn't mind seeing that, or even we can get into this in the second half, but I think Armour might need to play on that left back spot as well. He showed a lot of pace, a lot of willing to go forward and attack, as well as dropping back to defend. But we can get more in that in the second half. Mukun, super young, I believe he's 22. Corujo is like 25, 26, and Philip Lindsay's like 20 years old. That's a really young back line that I think is playing well above their age and their experience. And again, it's been 3 matches together, 2 months together.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of stuff to look forward to later in the season from those guys. But let's jump into the second half. Had a slight formation change in the second half. Gaines comes out, and I believe Armour comes in to kind of play that left wing back, and then
Ortiz goes out.
Ortiz goes out for
Awful.
For
Number
Awful.
25.
Yes, sir. Who I thought in the first few, the strategy there was to have Awful come in, play a high wing back with Lindsay, just so that way Atlanta's left back, I think Ottman or something like that, I forget his name, wouldn't press so much up against our back line because he was actually in that first half getting really high up and attacking and making great crosses, and it worked out well. We really forced the ball to Awful those first 5-10 minutes. He created some really good chances with it.
That left back had to drop and guard Awful.
Because it's a great tactical change by Ramirez.
It's almost like Atlanta had 2 left wingers out there because we didn't have that presence on our winger side where Awful was playing, which I believe was a right wing. But either way, with that side that he was on, our presence wasn't felt, so they were able to utilize that to push that defensive player up. But on the second half, Awful really stepped up and made his presence known there to where he had a lot of good plays.
Yeah, I thought the 3-5-2 formation looked a lot better this week. I thought we dominated that second half, and I thought our distribution, our team play, our passing to get out of our own half and into the second half looked really great. It created 2 or 3 chances for Serdersky. It looked like the kind of soccer I want to see this team play, this team can play. And it was a lot of like just interconnecting 1-2 passes, moving from, one side of the field to the middle, to the other side, back to the middle. I thought it was really creative passes. And again, like Awful wasn't afraid to take players on one-on-one. He set Lindsay up for some good attempts. Bender was still up there, challenging. So I thought, with only a week of practice, that formation and those players are really understanding it a lot more and look like a really dominant team.
I think this formation that we saw in the second half is probably one we're gonna see more often. You see a lot, or at least I noticed a lot more, the team chemistry coming into play, where like awful, and Francos are playing off each other, that 1-2 pass, and then
Yeah.
sending it up to the cross, or Bender and Swiderski. Um, I think this is where that communication and knowing where your guy's gonna be and knowing how your guy likes to play is gonna come into play, and we're only gonna see it develop more as time goes on.
Yeah, and I think even on the defensive side of the ball, we looked really good defending with this formation, even though it's only three defenders in the back and you got your two wing backs,
Hmm.
further up the field, kind of supporting more your mids. They were doing a great job of dropping back. And I thought the team overall generated some really good trap plays where they were kind of like shepherding Atlanta into one corner, and kind of giving them this false security of like, okay, you got this space, you've got time, and then all of a sudden we had like three or four Charlotte players shutting it down and winning the ball back. Something that I don't think we've seen the last two games, and it's something a team definitely needs. And just the overall press of the team, I thought looked a lot better. I felt like we were really pressuring the ball. When we lost it, we were, sprinting after it, trying to win it back as quickly as
Yeah.
possible. And when we won it back in our own half, we quickly got out of there and started attacking Atlanta. Yeah, big improvements on the second half. Let's talk about the first goal though. So McCoon, who we've kind of been a little harsh on today, he had a so-so game. I thought he was actually having a pretty decent game until he kind of made the mistake of the foul in the penalty box, right at the edge of the box. Um, for those that missed the game, he was kind of tracking back one of the Atlanta forwards. They kind of both went in shoulder to shoulder, which is totally legal and expected. You're allowed to
Hmm.
kind of lean in with your shoulder, both players. But where he kind of went wrong was the extension of the arm to
Yeah.
kind of shove the player. Completely unnecessary. I kind of felt like, he was the stronger of the two. When the Atlanta attacker kind of went to, budge him with his shoulder, he kind of bounced off and lost his footing anyways. And I think he was already going down, but it wouldn't have been a call if he didn't shove, you know, extend his arm, which is what ultimately gave him the PK. That's a tough call. I mean, because
Well, that was a. I mean, look, you see that extension of the arm, and that's gonna be a call all day, every day.
yeah,
As soon as the ref sees that, it's automatic whistle. And
yeah, and I think it's just a mistake from inexperience. He's young. He
yeah, he
probably
is
let the
young,
moment get to him.
but
It's
I
something
thought
that he'll have to
McCoon
clean
probably
up.
had the worst defensive game he's had in the past 3 games. That was for me out of the defensive line. McCoon probably had the worst game. He gave up that penalty, and then we'll get into this later. But he gave up that deflection where he should have been stepping up more. But it was like this goes back to going. You're not pressuring your guy. You're getting beat by your guy, and then you're getting frustrated, and then you gotta go and push him. I mean, like inside the box,
Yeah,
as a defensive, especially center back,
yeah,
you should know where that box line is, and he's right on top of it.
yeah, yeah,
That to me is just sloppy. It was sloppy, and
yeah.
I was
Sloppy play,
so upset when I saw that. I mean, like,
especially with how well the team had been performing
yeah,
early on in
he
the
just
half.
that was very demoralizing. Like
Yeah, it was.
your defensive, your attacking team, because that's when our attack was really building up. We were getting a
Yeah,
lot of chances in, and then he goes and does that and just completely destroys everything we've been working for.
yeah, absolutely. The one positive though, they scored the PK, but I think Kalina picked the right side. The most you can ask for from a goalkeeper, right?
Yeah,
Besides the actual save. But I thought, he picked the right side. He read Martinez, which to me gives me some confidence if we do ever make it deep in the playoffs and we go to a PK shootout. I think it just goes to prove, Kalina's a wall. I think he's
yeah, Kalina's a go-to goalkeeper for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But still, you kind of destroyed a lot of what they had been building up to, and now you're playing catch up. And playing catch up's not always bad, but it's not the greatest. Because not only do you have to put one up on the board, then you got to work for the second one. Whereas if you can keep it 1-0, you got time on your side. You can
yeah,
waste time basically when you're coming back to get that equalizer. You don't have time on your side at all because you got to get that equalizing goal and then you got to get the go ahead.
yeah,
And that's very tough. Very tough.
yeah. Proud of the team though. Just 6 minutes later, we get the corner from Bender that leads to Armour's goal. First
Mhm.
goal in Charlotte FC history. Went to a Charlotte native, or not Charlotte native, but North Carolina native from
Yeah,
Cary, North
proper.
Carolina. Uh, that's very cool for our history. it's a homegrown talent,
Yep.
not just an American player, but North Carolina player. That's pretty cool.
I showed him how to do that.
Let's talk about the build up to the goal. Bender creates a chance that gets deflected out to the corner, and then he goes and takes the corner and delivers it right into the perfect spot. I mean, Armour was unmarked. I think Kuruho and Mukon were also there, but Armour gets the header and makes it 1-1. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, when I first saw that corner go in, I couldn't tell if it was and not until the replay. At first, I thought it was Kurujo that put it in. Um, but very good delivery by Bender, and I want to see more of that. And I like that the defense is putting in headers like that. So when you go up for a corner, now their defense has to worry about not only covering our attackers and midfielders, but potentially whatever defensive
one or
players
two
sneak
center
up there.
backs sneaking up there. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
So no, I like that. I like that they did it, and I like that it worked.
So the game's tied 1-1. I think I don't have any big specific highlight of moments from the rest of the second half, but I kind of felt like a lot more of the same throughout the entire half of just really good team play, creating
Mhm.
chances. One thing I did want to note was we made our final substitution of the night. We take out Swiderski, I believe at the 70th minute, and put in Rios, who I don't think had that great of a performance
No, he
in
didn't. He was very
Atlanta.
quiet.
He had a big whiffed shot as well.
Yeah.
He was wide open, and it's a volley, a little difficult, but big whiff for
I think he
that
had one
stage.
on goal as well, but it was like right at the keeper, not great. He also got a yellow that game.
Yep.
Which our team got a lot of yellows that game overall. Which now you're going into the second game where you
Yeah, those
have
carry
guys that
over.
yeah, they carry it over. So if you get that second yellow, that puts you out for the next upcoming game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of pressure for a coach now as far as building that starting lineup. Like that's something that's in the back of his head, and he's got to worry about like putting players in or subbing.
Let me ask you this though. So Swiderski's taken off at the 70th minute. Do you think that's justified, or because I understand his match fitness might not be all the way there yet because he's joined so late.
Mm-hmm.
He's only played one game, before this one, where he
Yeah.
also only played about 70 minutes. Do you take him off to kind of preserve his legs, or do you go for the win and keep him on a little longer and risk, maybe risk a fitness injury where he misses a couple weeks, or what? What were your thoughts on the substitution?
Yeah. First initial thought, I'm thinking this is a bad sub. So Dursky's just getting warmed up. I gotta disagree with you as far as fitness. I think he's 100% on the fitness. I think the coach is making a lot of these subs to see, performance. Like, how's Rios gonna react or do when I put him in for this? Because when going back to that Galaxy game, Rios got subbed in late,
Yeah,
sometime in the 80th minute, mid 80s, and he had a
decent
header,
header.
on
Yeah,
goal
decent
header,
header.
right? This time he gets subbed in early, and he's very quiet, and you could see the frustration in Swiderski.
Which I like.
Yes, I mean
I love
obviously
it when
he's a
players are that
designated
way.
player. He's supposed to be starting. He's supposed to be also most likely finishing the game. But I think the coach is just testing the water, seeing how Rios is going to do. I was excited when I saw Rios coming on because I've seen his highlights and I like Rios, but I was not impressed by what I saw in this game.
Yeah, pretty quiet
Especially
performance.
for what could be potentially a rival team.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we can touch
I
on that.
expected more energy out of him.
Yeah, I think taking in what you said, I think it might be a case of he's performing really well in practice, which is something we're not seeing. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
he's really challenging Swiderski for those minutes, and maybe he earned those 20 minutes in practice, but just didn't show up unfortunately at the game. So
Yeah.
that's
But here's the thing. So like, we our attack is not there during the first half. It starts to come alive a little bit towards the end of the first half, and you really see it fully blossom in that second half, where we have a lot of possession. We're getting a lot of chances, and he's just not. He's not taking advantage of it. So who knows how that's going to
when you say he,
carry
do you
over.
mean Swiderski or Rios?
No, I'm talking about Rios
Okay, yeah,
because
I
we
agree.
had the ball a lot. and
Yeah.
we had good crosses in there a lot, especially in the second half, where especially Bender. I mean, I was really super impressed by him because he was making plays all over.
Yeah, he was
And
easily
Rios,
our playmaker of the game.
yeah, but Rios just wasn't there for me. So um, Armor, all the subs that got put in made an impact on the
Yeah,
game to me, with the exception of Rios.
I 100% agree.
Armor
Yeah,
came in, he had the goal. Awful came in, and he was really dominant on that wing side where him and Franco's number 21 are playing off each other and
even
building
him
good
and
runs.
Lindsay were doing some good 1-2s back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
But Rios just didn't really do anything that me was even noteworthy.
Yeah. To jump back on a guy you just mentioned, number 21, Franco, I thought he kind of showed up in the second half as the workhorse of that midfield of
Yeah,
winning the ball back, trying to move it around. Um, Maybe he's starting to blossom into the playmaking role that we'd like to see that we're missing right now in the center of the field. So I think that's, a good takeaway from this match, something to keep an eye out for the next
Franco's is
match.
another one I see as a potential anchor for that defensive midfield,
Yeah, yeah.
where he's developing the attack. He's getting the ball and moving it up to the side or middle. I could see him doing that. I saw him not once you're down there and you're playing it and you're getting shoved a lot. I saw him. He got a yellow, and he was getting mouthy with the other players and the ref. And I'm thinking, here's a guy that's showing. How do I say this? He's talking a lot for somebody that's not doing a lot.
Yeah, I think he did a lot in that second half though, and I think he, especially, and, I think I know the moment you're talking about. He's kind of going back and forth with Alonso from Atlanta
Yeah,
and the ref, and they're kind of chirping each other back and
yeah,
forth. And I think he was saying like, you want to see something? Give me the ball. I'm going to show you something. He was kind of
exactly.
demanding that ball, and Alonso's chirping at him, and he says he's kind of keep chirping. I'm going to show you something, and unfortunately it wasn't
Yeah,
there,
nothing came of
but
that.
at least the passion's there. At least he's trying.
Yeah, that's true. He's
And
making his presence known.
and
So
he seemed like he was covering a lot more of the field in that second half. He kind of seemed like he was everywhere.
I was just nervous that he was going to get that second yellow and going to put our team at a even
Yeah,
more of a disadvantage.
that's the fine line you play with those kind of guys.
Yeah,
Sometimes you'll get moments of magic, and then other times you'll get a really
just
late
pure
tackle that
frustration.
leads to a
Yeah,
second yellow.
yeah.
Um,
But in Alonso, he's an Atlanta player that he's been to the playoffs every time, from what I
13 years,
understand.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so with every club. So he's earned his right to
Chirp a
talk
little.
smack out there. Where
Absolutely.
Franco's, I'm just like, all right, man. Like, I want to see more action before I see your mouth talk.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. One other guy we should really highlight, and we are kind of talking about before, Armor, obviously with the goal, which was great. I think what was really cool was, some comments that the manager Ramirez made after the match, saying, Armor was very upset that he wasn't selected to be part of the roster at the LA game, the home opener. He really wanted to be a part of that. Didn't show Ramirez what he wanted to see, leading up to that match. And he said, the very next day, that guy, he was out there out hustling everyone, really
Yeah,
fighting to earn his spot. And, just adds to the coolness of the story of him getting that first goal because, he showed the manager he earned to be on that team, rewards the manager with the goal. And then I think, again, his performance, I think, for you and I, shows that he does deserve to have some more minutes out in that field. And I think what we're kind of saying is, if Fuchs is kind of, getting gas in the late half, maybe take
yeah,
out Mukan or Corujo, let Fuchs play center back and let Armor play that left back and let him and Bender, or even if Ortiz goes out to that wing, let them connect and attack because he looks like the guy who can get up and down very easily. Looks like a good asset on the attack and on the defensive side of the ball. And he's very young, 20 years old, came from the USL, played for the Charlotte Independence. So,
yeah.
has some match experience, and I think it's someone who's going to develop. So, besides just the goal, I think he's going to be someone that we need to keep our eye on and who is going to complement Lindsay. Lindsay's playing that great outside back role on the other side of the field of getting up and down and being involved in the attack and coming back and playing defense. And I think Armor can be, that same guy on the other side of the ball.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? I take it back when I said McCoon and Fuchs need to switch side. McCoon needs to just be subbed and benched and Armor needs to start. I'm still just like, man, McCoon just gave that game away. Like,
So yeah, I guess let's wrap it up with that. So again, our offense, second half, I thought they did very well. Move the ball around. 7 minutes of stoppage time go. 96th minute, Atlanta's midfielder wins the ball, kind of just launches it into the corner, hoping someone's there. Just plays it into the space. Fuchs is out of position because he's trying to push up for the attack.
yeah,
And that's
Fuchs
one
gets
thing.
beat.
Yeah, before we get to that, one thing I do want to mention is I'm really proud of the Charlotte team for going for the win instead of just going for the tie. They were clearly trying to win the ball and
Yeah,
push up instead of just sitting back and letting the game run out. And I thought that's something in the second half that really showed was they looked more like a team trying to win, while in the first half they kind of looked like a team that was just trying not to lose, which is not the same thing.
yeah,
Uh,
no, you're right.
so you did want to give those props out, but again, so Atlanta win the ball in their own half at the top of the half. Long ball onto the left side of the field. Atlanta's winger is there. Booth is caught out of position, and he just gets beat really easily, just too easy in my opinion, especially from a talented player like himself. I think he showed a little bit of fatigue there, little lack of speed. Just poor decision making on stabbing at the ball and getting beat.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. These most of these defenders are getting beat by just simple moves and
Yeah,
they're stabbing and it's not keeping their composure. That's how offensive players get by you. You know, they just got to do 1, 2 jukes and then just speed past you.
yeah. So he gets beat. Atlanta get the shot off, and it just seems like Charlotte's bad luck continues to accumulate, where it deflects off McCoon into
Another
the back of the net.
deflected goal. Sloppy defensive by McCoon. I'm telling you, I'm very upset with how he did performance wise on this game.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's young. I think we'll see him develop, but yeah, I mean, to me, it shouldn't even get to that point where the shot goes off. So for me, it's hard to completely blame him. I think Fuchs should have shut that down a lot better.
Sooner.
Yeah. So unfortunately, 2-1, the game ends there. One thing to note is, Charlotte's been scored on what 6 times now. 2 are
Mhm.
penalties, and 3 have been deflections, if I'm not mistaken. So only really have been scored on once or twice from the actual like run of play where someone just puts in an unbeatable shot.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and sometimes that's the way the game goes. The bounces just don't go your way, but that evens itself out eventually. I think eventually, some bounces are going to go our way. What were your closing thoughts on the match?
No, like you said, even after we got that second goal, right around the 96 mark, I believe it was, and the ref had allotted 7 minutes extra playing time, and he let it go for 98 and a half. Um, every second of those extra minutes or those of that extra time that was allotted, the Charlotte players were, pushing up, trying to make plays.
Yeah,
Other teams would have just been happy with the 1-1. So I'm very proud that they just kept fighting the whole time.
yeah,
Had it not been for that PK, obviously this game would have been a 1-1 tie, but we had a lot of chances. So going into this next game, you just gotta refocus and try to get those mental mistakes out of the way. Now we're going into game 4. Fortunately, we're not at the bottom of the table.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
second to last,
yeah.
but that's one good thing out of it.
So before we get into our kind of like preview of next week's match, a big thing on like social media and just around the Charlotte Football Club in general was, is this a rivalry between Charlotte United or Charlotte Football Club and Atlanta United? Can it even be a rivalry since they've never played? Atlanta has accomplished so much while Charlotte's brand new. They've only played 2 games before. Now they've played each other. Uh, what were your thoughts before the match on, is it a rivalry? And now that the match has happened, what do you think?
No, yeah, I think it's going to be a rivalry. It's only natural that it's a rivalry because of it's a rivalry between, going back to NFL. Those two teams, same conference, they don't like each other. it's gonna be the same thing. We're Eastern Conference, and they're only 3 hours away. It's gonna be, as far as for our region, El Clasico.
Yeah. Yeah, the Battle of 85, as I was trying to mint it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think some of the Fox announcers were
We need a
saying, oh,
better name than that, but it's gonna be a rivalry for sure.
yeah,
And you can see it. It was. This is where we saw a lot of the fouls and a lot of yellows. But it's gonna be a physical, tough game every time. Every time you could see it from the beginning.
yeah, and I think what was really funny was just I felt like it was downplayed more on the Atlanta side, but then once the game started, I think they kind of felt it as well. Like, no, this is a rivalry. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
excited for the rematch. I think, I think Atlanta played us what is going to be seen as one of our weaker moments. I think this team is only improving with how much improvement they made over last week. By the time we get to them again, I think we're going to be firing on all cylinders. And I think our offense, especially if they played like they did in that second half, is really going to break them down and put a few goals away at Bank of America Stadium. But before we get to that, we have to play New England this Saturday at 7 o'clock at Bank of America Stadium at home. What are you looking forward to forwards for that game?
I'm looking forward to the start of Bender again. Like I've said, I think he's earned that starting spot. So I'm looking forward to see how he does. I'm looking forward to see how he can better utilize Soderski and Ortiz, because Ortiz got subbed beginning of the second half, so he didn't get to see that good communication there, or that a lot of that good playmaking there that Bender did in that second half, where I thought Bender was really starting to distance himself from Fuchs playing on that left wing, more like it almost seemed like he was playing just a solid left midfielder instead of
Yeah.
an attacking left wing. And then towards the latter end of the first half, he just kind of distanced and pushed more up. So I'm hoping to see more um, combination attacking style from him and those other players. It's going to be interesting to see what formation Ramirez, the coach, uses, and what starter is what forward is going to go in. Obviously, it's going to be Swiderski, but I still have hope in Rios, but we'll see.
And what about Reyna?
Yeah, I mean Reyna's still good. He's it's just an injury.
Yeah, but do you think he
Give him a
fits?
shot.
Do you think he fits into this formation where we're kind of only playing with the one forward up top and are utilizing more wingers and outside midfielders? Because from what we saw at the LA game, I kind of felt like he was kind of out of place when he got moved over to the right midfield.
Yeah,
I thought Mackenzie Gaines, did a lot more with the ball in that position. And I think even Reyna himself kind of wants to play more of the center forward, kind of where Serdeski is playing. I think I think if we go with that 3-5-2 or even the 4-3-3, I think it's going to be hard for him to find a spot on that starting lineup.
yeah. If they play, because they've been playing two at the top.
Against LA, yeah.
Yeah, against LA. But if they play that same formation here against New England, and let's say Reyna goes in as well, Reyna, obviously Soderski is going to be your main attacker, but Reyna can scoop up those rebounds.
Yeah.
That's where I would see him. We'll see. The formation keeps changing, and they're still trying to develop it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how he's going to utilize him, but Reyna's got talent there.
Yeah. And you think we'll see the debut of Derek Jones?
Maybe. He just got signed last
Tuesday, I think.
Tuesday or something like that.
Yeah.
So that only gives him 1-2 weeks of practice.
Yeah, and it's clearly, the way Ramirez wants his team to play kind of takes these guys a little longer to figure out the tactical side of it. So maybe we don't see him start, maybe just get a late substitution in. But I think, in my opinion, he's definitely someone that needs to see some minutes.
Yeah, I mean, because you gotta let it develop. This is probably how Rios got his minutes. They're all, and how you said Armour was upset about not starting, so he really hustled in practice. So you're not seeing what's going on in practice. These guys could be just shining out there on the practice pitch and just totally blown it when it comes to game time.
Yeah.
There's two different types of mind or just pressures out there. When you're practicing, it's not so mentally tough. There's not a lot of pressure on you. But when it comes to game time, it's totally different. See that transpire. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And last thought, do we make any changes to that back line? Does Fuchs slide into center back and Armour gets the start, or do we keep the same back line and let them continue to develop? What are your thoughts?
No, I think Fuchs should move into that center back, and I think Armour should move into that left back role. So he's covering those attacking wingers, because like you noted, he is up in age, and it did look like, especially when we got that second goal in, like he was tired.
Yeah.
Thinking back on it, and I was like, yeah, he probably was tired. So yeah, put him in that center back where he's right up there with Kalina, commanding that defensive line.
Yeah, really get the
Instead of
most
that
out of his
far left corner.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully the coach Ramirez, which I know you're listening, will do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Clearly he is listening after the team changes we saw this week.
I thought he was. I was like, man, is this guy really like? He's doing a lot of stuff that you and I talked about, and I was like, are you listening?
Well, if you are, don't forget to follow our socials and leave a review. 5 stars, please.
Or 1 star.
Either way, yeah, whatever. Last thought, what is your score predictions? What do you see as the score line for this match?
I watched a little bit of the highlight from that New England game against Real Salt, and I think we could come away with a win. I think we could come away with a 1-0 win or a 2-1 win. New England, they came out strong in that first half. They came up, they had 2-0, and then they lost it to 3-2.
Yeah.
So, to lose it to 3-2, that shows a lot of the
lack of composure.
Yeah, exactly. Lack of composure. The team's not clicking yet. Maybe these guys aren't 100% yet. So I see us winning this one. I'm just going to be hopeful. I'm just going to call it either 1-0 or 2-1, something like that.
From our last 3 opponents, I don't think New England is as strong as any of them.
No.
They did win the Supporters Shield last year, having the best record in the MLS, but that was last year and this is now. And,
yeah,
Charlotte is now on the scene. And I think, like I was saying, New England, not as strong as LA or Atlanta or even DC. And I think the way we've performed against those teams, especially the last 2 weeks, it's not like we've been easily beaten. We've been in the fight for all 90 minutes. So
it seems like we're building momentum.
Yeah, they're catching us at a bad time. I think.
First it was like 3-0. Okay, yeah, we're just starting. 0-1 against Galaxy's strong team, and then a 2-1. Our first goal against Atlanta, and these are back-to-back championship teams that we've been playing. No, I think we're building momentum where I could see us walking away with 3 points here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm going to go super confident. I'm going to say 3-0. Swiderski, Bender get on the score sheet, and no, not Reyna. I don't think Reyna sees any playing time. I think Swiderski bags 2. Bender gets 1. 3-0 for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Well, hey, that wraps up today's episode of Offsides, the official podcast of Charlotte Football Club. If you want to stay in touch with us, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at offsides_CLTFC. And, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is where this will also be posted. And if you like the podcast, leave a review. All right. We will catch you guys next week after we get that 3-0 win.
All right. Bye.